It's one of the more obscure offerings from one of the biggest distilleries in the world. Today we're doing a review of Wild Turkey Kentucky Spirit. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bourbon Hutch, and thanks so much for joining me on this journey through the world of whiskey. So that's right, today we're taking a look at one of the more obscure bottles from Wild Turkey, and that's Wild Turkey Kentucky Spirit. So honestly, I don't hear much about this bottle, so let's dig into the details. What are we looking at here? So first off, it is 101 proof, which puts it right on the same level as Wild Turkey 101. Price-wise, it's $55, so just a tick more expensive than Rare Breed. If you look at the bottle shape, it's actually the same exact bottle as Rare Breed, so be careful in the store, make sure you're checking your labels. So the question really is, how is this being set apart from other things that Wild Turkey already offers? And that's because it's a single barrel product. It's supposed to obviously give you more variation and uniqueness for each potential bottle that you're gonna get, because different barrels have particularly different flavor profiles. Now, if I had to guess why this is sort of more obscure, it's because proof point wise, it's no different than Wild Turkey 101, and it's not barrel strength like Rare Breed. It's a single barrel offering that's a lower proof. That doesn't mean it's not good. I just think it's kind of an interesting category of bottle that you don't see very often, and might be why people don't talk about this one all that much. But from what I have seen, people do tend to like it. So let's dive in. Let's do our typical run through of nose, palate, and finish, and we'll just evaluate this particular single barrel. For me, the bottle that I have here was bottled on April 27th, 2022 from barrel number 2293, stored in warehouse A on rick number 43. I don't know particularly what that means. Maybe you guys can let me know. I'm sure there are certain warehouses that people really love from Wild Turkey, so would love to hear if you have those details. All right, let's dive in on the nose, palate, and finish here. By the way, mash bill here is the same as all Wild Turkey, I believe, which is 75% corn, 13% rye, and 12% malted barley. All right, in we go now on the nose. Oh, nice. It's very sweet, very cherry forward for me. Maybe like some orange citrus too. Good vanillas. Not much punch. I mean, it's not super high proof. Lots of berries going on. Almost like a blackberry, black licorice note in here that's pretty prominent. A little bit of spice, like black pepper. Cinnamon. Cinnamon for sure. Wow, okay. Nice and fruity and sweet. Not super caramely or peanutty. Not even that much funk here. I almost always get some sort of Wild Turkey funk, and I'm not getting much here. I'm just getting these bright berries, vanillas, cinnamon, and yeah, that licorice note is strong. Okay, very interesting nose, pretty inviting. Let's go in on the palate where we'll get a lot more information. Cheers. Okay, wow, that was spicier on the palate. It definitely came forward with the spice, like a cinnamon punch and some black pepper in there as well, maybe even a touch of clove. So that's all present, I think, toward the front palate even. Then it sweetened up for me. Really got these nice vanilla notes. The vanilla and cinnamon really carried strong, sort of cinnamon sweetened up with the vanilla. A layer of honey kind of got in there as well. And then on the finish, I'm getting cherry and, like, again, that strong black licorice note, which I have gotten a touch of that on like Wild Turkey 101 before, but it's really coming through on this single barrel. Wow. Yeah, the licorice is strong. Okay, let's go in for a second sip now that the palate is coated. We'll pick up some more flavors. Cheers. Okay, nice. Very similar sipping experience there. Mouthfeel wise is pretty solid here, pretty robust. Is this non-chill filtered. Well, the bottle doesn't say anything about it being non-chill filtered, but it's got a nice mouthfeel either way. And for me, that sip again, it has these like brighter fruit notes. I think it's got this like nice cherry, a little bit of that blackberry. The black licorice again is really strong with this honey note, especially on the finish for me. The mid palate and toward the front palate and some of the mid palate, it's that spice kick. I will say there's a little bit of an emptiness somewhere in the mid palate for me. It kind of drops off for a bit and then the finish kicks back up with more flavors. Not exactly sure what's going on there, but there were just a few times during that sip where I was like, didn't really feel like I was getting much. The finish though comes through strong with some really nice flavors. All right, let's actually go in and evaluate the full-on experience, but also really pay attention to the finish. Just before we do that, I do want to say, if you're enjoying all the content coming out of the channel, would love to have you subscribe. Really helps the channel grow. Would also appreciate it if you could hit like on this video. Helps get it out to more people. And while you're at it, comment down below. Have you had Wild Turkey Kentucky Spirit? Sort of, again, a more obscure bottle from Wild Turkey. Not a lot of people talk about it, but would love to know your opinions if you've tried it. All right, let's dive in for the third sip and evaluate the finish. Cheers. Yeah. The spice continues to kind of build on my palate, so now I'm getting a lot of cinnamon, allspice kind of notes. Black pepper is there as well. The finish feels particularly spicy now. It's got this cinnamon red hot quality. Again, that black licorice is there. A little bit of vanilla and a little bit of honey sticking around as well to sweeten it up. I do think the progression here, I got one sip there where I had more berries, which was the second sip. This third sip got much more of that spice aggression and then some of that sweetness with the vanilla, honey, and the black licorice. I think there's some berry notes hidden in there. They're more prominent on the nose, but they're less so on the palate. I do think the mid palate or the front palate, somewhere in there is just lacks a little bit of a flavor punch, but the finish almost makes up for it with how strong the flavors are. So that's great. Overall, I think this experience is pretty solid. What I'm really excited about and kind of pleased to see is that the dial tone has been really turned up on certain qualities that I pick up in Wild Turkey 101, while others have been lowered. So like here, the licorice note is really turned up and the funk note is turned down. Almost no peanut for me here. It's more of the cinnamon. So you're starting to see some of the trade-offs that you can get with a single barrel. I actually particularly do enjoy the fact that this has a little bit less funk and nut and a little bit more berry, a little bit more licorice, a little bit more cinnamon. That's kind of a cool difference from regular old Wild Turkey 101. Now, in terms of price here at $55, is it better than Wild Turkey Rare Breed? If you could still see a Russell's Reserve single barrel for like 60 to 65 bucks, is it better than that? Not necessarily. I think I'd probably still take both of those bottles over this one, but the fact that this gives you different flavor variations and shows off kind of a different potential side of Wild Turkey, quite nice, and I'm glad I have the bottle. All right, everybody, I think that's gonna wrap it up here for this quick review of Wild Turkey Kentucky Spirit. Again, since this one is a little bit more obscure, less talked about, would love to know your guys' opinions on it. I know that this is non-age stated, I've heard though, and I think the website says that it's about 8 years old, so everything from Wild Turkey falls into that pretty well-aged category. Again, want to just know, how have your experiences been with, have you had multiple bottles? Maybe they've had different flavor profiles. Just want to know what this bottle represents to you in the Wild Turkey lineup. Until I see you guys again for another video, all I can say is keep drinking good whiskey and cheers.